Hello and welcome to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your
Whoa! What about the once again? Don't be changing that on me. There's a rhythm, and you've already destroyed it.
It's going to be one of those nights, kids.
It is. Cory can't even get the words right.
Hello and welcome once again.
There we go.
To Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
Happy birthday, Mr. Rat Bastard. Happy birthday, you cleaner. Happy birthday to Cory. See, I told you he was old. Sing along if you know it. Happy birthday. So how old are you now, you fart?
Had the Rolling Stones killed?
Sir, they're not the...
Do as I say! And scene.
So for Cory's birthday, I'm going to eat this entire low-sodium can of Blue Diamond almonds, which are lightly salted. Delicious.
I stopped at Taco Bell and got a caramel apple empanada. It's like a pie, but you can hold it in your hand while driving.
You're crazy. You're out of control.
Yes, I am.
You better not make a mess.
No, that's why it's an empanada. It doesn't make a mess. It doesn't go all over your shirt. Unlike when they make the breakfast burritos and they don't wrap them properly, and the next thing you know, you got sour cream all down the front of your shirt, and you think to yourself, well, it's a good thing I wear a vest. I guess I'm going to be buttoning that sumbitch up all day.
Cory, happy to see me, or is that sour cream all over your vest?
Thankfully, it never got on the vest. It just got on the shirt.
Yeah, and his vest got all over his chest. Yuck. Cory, what's that vague smell of sour cream? Are you eating breakfast burritos again?
Just once in a blue moon. Just once when, I didn't get supper the night before.
Cory
didn't when I've had to go from work to work to work to work to work. Then I get to go home and change clothes and then work.
And then you worked some more.
Get to the point where I ought to think I just thought I'd keep a chest of drawers in the back seat of the car.
There's a redneck view.
But the good thing is, I have slept in my own bed 4 out of the last 5 nights. It's weird. I don't know if I like it. Especially when I have an Amazon Echo next to the bed. That's my alarm clock now. But those Amazon Echoes, they listen to you.
They do.
And when I'm watching TV, anytime somebody on TV says computer, it wakes up and goes, yes.
Computer.
Well, you can have it. You can have it called Alexa, or you can change it to computer. Because I changed it because I like Star Trek, and I like going, computer, what's the temperature?
Because every time I'd be swearing like, son of a bitchin' computer. Yes. Shut up. Never liked you anyways.
It is fun to say computer, thank you. Because it'll go, it's why I'm here. Or, sure. Or, you're welcome.
How polite.
It is. It's very polite. And I can listen to my Sirius satellite radio through it now. And they're not buying any ads. Cheap bastards.
No, neither were Blue Diamond almonds, although they are lightly salted. Oh, God.
You notice I didn't mention the name of the fast food place I stopped at. I just said it.
You don't have to. Everybody knows where you come from.
Caramel apple empanada.
Yeah.
Is this a... By the way, Joe, we're going to horn in on WrestleCrap Radio's territory a little bit. Have you had the new Wasabi Doritos?
I refuse to.
And the reason?
I have no idea what wasabi is. It sounds like some type of Alaskan Inuit town.
Nope. Wasabi is a Japanese horseradish. It's got a very sharp flavor. And I am not a huge fan. I have had the Wasabi Doritos chips. They taste like They taste like wasabi, so it was like, oh, wish you wouldn't have given me these.
You are not a fan. You know what I am a fan of? Have you seen the birthday cake that Jules and Daniel Moore are eating down in Disney World?
I have not.
Oh, huge! It's of course it's shaped like, you know, somebody lobbed Mickey's head off, and you know, but it's just chocolate with chocolate and more chocolate. I've been living vicariously through them because they're posting pictures as they wandered through Universal's Harry Potter exhibit and various places in Disney World.
And taking pictures of all their meals.
Exactly.
Now, me, when I went to Disney World as a small child, back in 1976, we went to Disney World.
Would they open, 73?
I think it was 74 or 75. Because they hadn't been around very long.
Yeah,
and they had Space Mountain.
I didn't realize I was there the first year, I think 74, you know, which I didn't even realize because Epcot hadn't opened yet. And I was like, oh, Disney World, this is cool, you know, thinking it's been around forever, and it hadn't been. I mean, Disneyland, obviously.
And Space Mountain was the first roller coaster I ever rode and didn't freak out. Because I've talked in the past about how, as a kid, crippling fear of heights to the point where I wouldn't climb up on tall slides because it was too high up. I love Space Mountain simply because it was in the dark. You couldn't see how far down it was.
Yeah, right. The last time I went on it, a number of years ago, it's not as dark as it was.
Oh.
You can still see shapes of things coming at you, but it's still dark, but you can still see, so it's not as surprising as it used to be.
And maybe you could take your cosmic cube that Marvel gave out, because they glow in the dark. Use that as a light.
Oh, I don't know. What if Marvel decides to stop publishing comic books?
I read that article.
Yeah. For people wondering, in the KingdomInsider.com, they had an article. Will Disney stop publishing Marvel comic books? And they give a big reason why and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, to me, number one, no. Not as long as our good buddy, what's his name? Eichmann?
Ike Perlmutter.
As long as he's in there, because he will keep that company making money. And I think Disney's a lot like everybody else. If they can, as long as your division's making money, they're happy. And I do find it interesting, though, that there are other properties that you would think, well, Marvel's going to do all the comic books now. No, not so fast, son. Because as we know, IDW's doing Disney and Mickey Mouse. There's a few other companies doing some of the other newer properties.
Other companies do the children's books. And I have found out the reason for that.
Is it licensing or?
Marvel does not have newsstand distribution. At all. During the bankruptcy, they quit paying for newsstand distribution. That's why Archie is putting out the digests, because Archie has the best distribution for digests. IDW, I guess, has some newsstand distribution on the West Coast and in some bookstores. And so that's why they license those books out. Basically, Marvel's not set up to publish kids' books at all. But I read the article, and the first thing I thought when I read it was this person doesn't know the comic industry at all.
Nope.
He didn't understand how it works. It's another one of these guys who read something on Breitbart and a couple other articles that Marvel's all falling apart. And then, well, Disney will probably, they must be losing money, so Disney will probably quit publishing. First off, Marvel does not lose money.
Nope.
They don't lose money, partly because of Ike Perlmutter, mostly because they are very budget conscious. They always have been. Always. They lost money in the 70s, And that's when they got rid of a lot of the people up top, brought in James Galton, brought in Jim Shooter, and to be honest, a lot of it was, we don't care how good it is, we just want the trains to run on time. It's the old line, do you want it good or do you want it Tuesday? Jim Shooter's Tuesday. That's why you've got so many books where, 15 people did the inking on it, or 7 or 8 people did the penciling. It's, this book needs to be done by Monday. But I've got some numbers I'd like to discuss, Joe.
Ooh, numbers.
Yep.
Wait, no, you did tell me there would be math.
And I've done all the math.
Oh, good.
So let's just take the 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Now, Joe, when did the Guardians of the Galaxy as a comic show up?
Oh, sometime in the 70s?
Nope, 1968.
Oh, that was the, what was that, Marvel Spotlight?
Marvel Superheroes. They did a one-shot by Arnold Drake and Gene Colan, and the characters weren't used till they got picked up later by Steve Gerber, who used them in The Defenders, and then he did them in Marvel Feature, and then with issue 12 it was canceled. They made a few other appearances. They were in a really good Thor annual and your favorite Avengers story.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just were kind of gone. Then they came back with Jim Valentino in the late 80s, early 90s. That run lasted 61 issues. And when it went away, people ignored the Guardians again. Nobody used them until Annihilation in 2008. Now, the Annihilation version of the characters is the one that they're using. But everybody forgets that Guardians of the Galaxy, the new run was canceled with issue 25. Not a big success. Not a hit. And actually, if you go back and read it, a lot of characters in that aren't in the movie. But the 2 movies so far have made $1,264,000,000.
Say that one more time just for effect.
$1 billion.
Billion.
$264,000,000. And they cost $370 million to make the 2 of them. Now, every Guardians of the Galaxy comic ever printed has made a profit. And you know how we know that?
How's that?
Because when a comic that Marvel's going to print isn't going to make a profit, they don't publish it. Just ask the fans of Ghost Rider in the 90s. They were about to go to press. They did the math. It's like, oh, we won't make a profit on that. Don't print it. But every Marvel comic featuring the Guardians of the Galaxy has made a profit, or it wouldn't have seen print. But let's say they didn't. Let's say they're losing $1,000 on each one. Okay? And let's go back to the 1977 series, the 1990 series, the current series. You add them all up and you get about 160 issues. Well, let's be generous, and we'll start counting Annihilation and those Defender issues and things like that. And we'll just say that they've published 200 Guardians of the Galaxy comics, right?
Sure, let's go with that.
Okay? And they've each lost $1,000 just for shits and giggles. We'll say, Marvel's publishing at a loss. They're losing $1,000 on each one. That means that they've lost $200,000 on the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, Joe, how much did those movies make again?
$1 billion.
$264 million.
I like my number better.
In other words, for $200,000, they developed a property that they're able to pull characters from. They used Taserface, for Christ's sake. And Disney has made $894 million in profit. Now, that doesn't even count the cartoon they're running on Disney XD, the streaming of that cartoon on Netflix and other services, the international rights to that cartoon, the toys, The kids' books. There are little golden books out now that sell for $5 each, featuring Rocket Raccoon. Little golden books. Sold to kids, the ones with the cardboard covers. All that licensing. The shirts. At the group home, 2 of the residents we have Guardians of the Galaxy pajama bottoms. Because they just went to Target with them, and they're like, oh, they need new pajamas. Just grab those. And believe it or not, it wasn't me doing the shopping. Or like, oh, look, it's Groot. Oh, we'll get him the Groot pajamas.
Are you happy to see me, or is that Groot in your pants? I am Groot.
So just think of all the money they've made. $200,000 they invested, if it's a loss, for all of that profit.
And the other thing to remember, too, is by having it published, that takes care of the trademark copyright thing.
Yep, trademark, copyright, anything any person throws in there, they can exploit that for movies and toys and games and cartoons and all of it. I mean, I've seen the new Ms. Marvel on the Avengers cartoon. You think Disney's not happy about, oh, look, it's a new Muslim character. We can push that character in these countries. And then, one of the things that it said in the article is, well, they might just go to reprinting the old stuff. And just keep reprinting the old stuff instead of making new stuff. The Marvel movies, they're pulling ideas from the new stuff. Joe, what was the last Captain America movie called?
Civil War.
And what was the Captain America movie before that?
That was Winter Soldier.
And when did those stories get told?
Oh, that was 80s, wasn't it? No, 90s.
No.
So,
it was within the last 10 years. Civil War was within the last 10 years.
I'm old.
These are new stories. And I bet, first off, Marvel made money off them because they've reprinted it over and over and over and over. And second, they don't have to give Mark Miller a check for them using the ideas from Civil War in the Captain America movie. That's why it's worked for hire. And they're using ideas from Ultimate Spider-Man in the new Spider-Man movie. They use all of these ideas over and over in all the new stuff. Marvel's an IP development firm. Even if the comics lose money, even if they lose money for the next 10 years, they'll make it up with the toys. They make it up the first weekend a movie opens overseas. This whole, Marvel's going to be shut down. No. Disney bought Marvel for a very specific reason. It's the same reason they bought Star Wars. They looked over all their holdings and said, we don't have anything that appeals to age boys, 8 to 14. Oh, look, here are 2 things that appeal to boys age 8 to 14, and you put Disney marketing behind it, we could fill a Target with it. Boom. That's why you're going to get a Star Wars movie every year. That's why you're going to get 2 or 3 Marvel movies every year. That's why they're going to have toys and games and video games and all of it. And the whole idea that, Disney would shut Marvel down. As long as Marvel is pumping out new ideas, they're not shutting down. And as a side note, all the people who are like, I don't like the diversity of characters, I bet Disney's going, oh, I can't wait to have this Asian Hulk for the Chinese market. I can't wait to have the African American girl in Iron Man for this market. If Riri Williams isn't a Disney princess within the next 10 years, I'm shocked. Disney really wants Captain Marvel to do well. Why? Because they saw how much money Wonder Woman made. Comic fans, here's my thing that makes me just furious. Comic fans don't see the big picture, Joe.
No, they don't. It's kind of like what we used to talk about DC. DC lasted as long as it did in Time Warner because as long as they made money, nobody cared. Plus, it was a great place for ideas. We'll debate whether or not, Time Warner's done a good job of using those ideas, but you can't
make money.
You can't deny the Superman movie with Christopher Reeves was excellent. They made tons of money off the cartoons and. It's like you had said years ago, why did they publish a Wonder Woman comic if it never made money? Simple. License the Underoos. That's how they made their money off it.
And in the agreement they made with the creator, there had to be a Wonder Woman comic every month or the rights would revert back to the family. They bought the character outright in 86. Which is why in 87 we only got that 4-issue miniseries, which was planned to be the bridge between the cancellation of the Wonder Woman comic and the new Perez Wonder Woman comic. But Time Warner said, I don't want to deal with this. Just buy the character outright. And they did. They just bought the character outright. They were done. And more things like that are going to happen with DC. Now that, what's his name? Jeff Johns is one of the big high muckety-mucks in the movie creative, you're going to see more and more of the stuff from the comics getting pulled into the movies. Because why not?
Sort of like John Belushi. Why not?
Grab a beer. Don't cost nothing.
Yeah. So we got 2 words for you, people, about all this Marvel stuff. Settle down.
And the other thing is, I don't even want to get into the whole milkshake thing where these older comic fans are like, this is a problem with comics. And it's a picture of Marvel employees, women, having a milkshake. And when you try and say, well, what do you mean it's a problem? They don't want to say they're girls and they're young. So they'll dance around it and everything.
I would hope that our listeners...
DC has older creators, and guess what? Their books aren't selling either. DC only has 1 female editor, and their books aren't selling either. What does that mean?
The books suck?
Yeah, it means the market is slowing.
Oh. I like my idea. They just suck. And we've ranted about this before. And I use the Ms. Marvel thing because when I read Ms. Marvel, first of all, when it came out, didn't pick it up. Actually, I found out I had a couple issues. I must have picked it up in like a bulk deal somewhere. Didn't read it, not for me. Same thing with Iron Man when it became the young girl. I was like, I read a few issues, not for me. But I'm not going online ranting and raving and, they're losing me, they didn't do this. I vote with my pocketbook. And I don't feel that it's a big issue that they made this. Because, I know these people are going to be shocked, but it's possible that Marvel and DC might make comics that aren't for you. And it's, they're still making comics for you, and of course you should vote with your wallet, but keep your misogynistic and racist attitudes off the Internet. Of course, it's a problem with the Internet. It allows anybody to be an idiot, no matter how stupid they are. What did our old pal Harlan Ellison say? You're not entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your informed opinion. No one's entitled to be ignorant. And if you don't like milkshakes, well, some of us do. So shut up.
Yeah, and I hear they bring all the boys to the yard.
Oh, well, mine don't.
When I put one out in the yard, it just brought ants.
Yeah.
It always reminds me of back when you had your shop. And Brian Wilson would come in and look through the books, and he would say, I don't like what they've done here, and I don't like what they've done here. Why can't they do comics the way they used to be and the way I like them? And I would always point and go, they do. They're right over there. And I'd point towards your trade paperbacks. They're reprinting all that stuff. I don't want the reprints.
Which is funny because 90% of the times when you and I talk about what we order out of our previews, I'm like, oh, they're reprinting this. I can't wait.
But look, the market may not be for you. Back in the 70s, even into the 80s, the editors at Marvel and DC were like, we publish books. We publish magazines for children and young teenagers. Then when the direct market hit, it's, there's an adult audience. They catered to that. But the guy who edited Superman, Mort Weisinger, you know what he told people who worked for him? Comics sell to stupid children. And that's why he would redo a story every 3 years. And the writer would go, well, we did that story. And he said, it was 3 years ago. We've had turnover. New kids haven't read it. Besides, replacing characters all the time. Marvel would never do that. It's not like they'd replace Iron Man with a black guy.
I mean, DC used to do it just so that they'd have someone to kill off in their next crisis.
Yeah, Marvel never replaced Iron Man with a black guy.
Never last.
Or Thor with a construction worker.
Yeah, no, not happen.
Or Thor with a frog.
Thor a woman.
Or
never
replace Thor with a horse-faced alien.
Mm-mm.
You know why they did that, don't you?
Make Spider-Man a young, kid.
You know why they replaced Thor with a horse-faced alien, right?
Why is that?
So that in the movie he could be played by Sarah Jessica Parker. Thank you! Good afternoon!
And he complains about my DC superhero joke book.
You've been a beautiful crowd. Don't forget to tip the waits.
Not over. Just,
Anything else you want to rile me up about on my birthday, Joe?
I don't know. Well, talked previews. What do you think of last August's previews? Anything in there really get you going?
There was some stuff that got me excited, but nothing where I went, woo! The Marvel Legacy stuff looks fun.
Yeah. I'm a little cold on it, I guess. To me, it's just the same comics with a different number, and that's not really exciting me that much.
It depends on how Secret Empire ends, because we got kind of a hint in the Hulk Generations that something weird happens at the end of Secret Empire. Because, spoilers, everybody, spoilers. Totally Awesome Hulk goes back in time to when Hulk is being hunted by the army. And that's all I've heard about the book. It's, he goes back in time to when Hulk's being hunted by the army, because one of the fans I know who's older is like, that's the Hulk I want. The Hulk that talks like a kid, talks like a stupid kid and throws tanks around. And all I have to say is, they did that for about a decade. I think that was enough.
I kind of want Peter David back on Hulk. But we talked about that last couple podcasts.
Yeah. There weren't any omnibuses I wanted from Marvel.
I was tempted with the one they offered, and I didn't write it down, so I got to flip through the pages there.
It was a Deadpool.
Oh, Shadowland.
Oh, yeah. Joe.
The only reason I didn't buy it was because, are you talking this is the potential for another, The Crossing?
Yeah. It's bad.
Okay, maybe I'll avoid it. Because what I would have liked is if they'd included the takedown in Superior Spider-Man. Because I thought that was weird. It's like, they went and made this new status quo, and then they let Dr. Octopus destroy it.
Basically because somebody at Marvel went, we don't really want Daredevil as the kingpin of crime.
I have a question for you, though, because across the page is a Secret Empire hardcover. Now, do you think this will, can you read Secret Empire, just the books, or is this something I should wait 10, 20 years to see if they're going to put out an omnibus on it and all the tie-ins with it?
From what I've read, it can be read on its own. It's a lot like Civil War. You know, you can read Civil War on its own. It's more fun if you read all the other stuff. But from my reading of it so far, you can read it on its own. And is it worth getting as a hardcover? $25 isn't bad.
Well, it's retail $50, but you should be able to find it online for less.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I thought was interesting. Cory, did you ever pick up SpongeBob Comics #1?
I did not.
Oh,
I'm the only person on the planet who's never watched SpongeBob SquarePants.
You should have. It runs anywhere from $30 to $50 now.
That doesn't surprise me.
You could be rolling in dough. The reason I mention it is because there's one coming out that, while I have zero interest in it, it's also one of those that, we don't talk a lot about comics as investments because it's a lot like playing penny stocks. And, of course, when I refer to my eBay stuff, I've got 20, maybe 25 boxes of comics that are worth $1 or less, and I've got maybe 2 comic boxes of stuff that's worth $2 to $5, and then, of course, every so often I get a really oddball one. Hence the SpongeBob, because my daughter handed me hers, and I was like, holy guacamole, these things went up in price. There's one coming out, and I believe it's, of course, I lost track of who it was, but Rugrats, if you remember that Nickelodeon property.
Oh!
It's coming out of Kaboom. So if you're one to speculate, that would be the one I would recommend speculating on. Just pick them up. They must be variants because, God, everything has variants nowadays. Pick a couple up, put them aside, and let's see. I just sold the SpongeBob one on eBay's, but I got a #2 here, which has a really cool Big Daddy Rough type cover. Let's see. This was published in 2011, so we're talking for 6 years. Probably do better on the stock market, but it was just one of those that kind of struck me that, this is an interesting property. Maybe it'll go somewhere. And of course, it also depends on a couple other things. Will it still be published? I mean, they're still publishing SpongeBob comics. Not everything goes up. The Simpsons comics are a real hit or miss. #1 is not a big seller. Not even that. There was a #1 that came up before Bongo, and it was like bagged with a poster and everything.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, did not go up in value, although you would have guessed the first Simpsons might have. Some of the ones that tend to have heat are really, like the Halloween specials or you're buying a comic for $3.99 and all of a sudden they come out with an $8.99 special. Those are the ones that, people just didn't pick up. And now, years later, they're like, hey, these went up in price. Imagine that. So.
Well, and it's also the creative teams on them.
Big time. Or it could be something, I don't know. I don't really know. Sometimes I look at a comic, I'm like, why did this go up in price like that? Did nobody buy it? Did it, we talked about it too when Archie's, the next digest coming out is starring Thor. So it's, what do they call it? Marvel Comic Digest #3, published through the Archie thing we mentioned earlier.
#2 is the Avengers.
And those are the ones that, are collectors buying it? No idea. Who knows, maybe 10 years from now when I finally pull mine out of my hopefully reduced accumulation of crap, we'll go, hey, remember way back that podcast we recommended it.
Well, remember, it's all supply and demand.
Or
we talked in the past about, Strawberry Shortcake comics from Marvel in the 80s. They're, 30 years old. Not a big supply. Also not a big demand.
Yeah, they're not, despite what Mile High asks for them, you can find them for less on the eBays. The equalizer, as I call it.
When I worked at Schindler's, there were all these books that were worthless. They would send me long boxes and say, sticker them out, because they had their cheap bin, 25, 50, and 75 cents, and you'd sticker them. And it was stuff that now people would be jumping all over for. It's Marvel Monster reprints, DC dollar books and the 100-pagers. The DC war books. Oh, my God, so many DC war books. The horror comics that DC put out, House of Mystery, House of Secrets, Witching Hour. Just dumping them, and now they're worth something. Why? There isn't a big supply because comic collectors and comic shops were superhero focused, and people are like, oh, I read some of these in the showcase, or the Marvel Monsters are really cool. And then you've got the completists. There aren't a lot of them, but there are still people who, I want every issue of Vault of Evil that Marvel published. Or I want every Marvel Monster reprint. A few years ago, I want every one of the Marvel magazines. And they went from being worthless to all of a sudden being $20, $30 books. I don't think it's going to be... I think you can look at certain trends. I've always said that I think the Marvel stuff from like 97 to 2001, that stuff's going to go up in value more than the stuff around it because there wasn't a lot of it on the market. And people will eventually go, I think I need to fill in my X-Men. I think I need to fill in my Spider-Man. I need to fill in my Avengers.
And the other thing, too, is the ones that are going to go up in price, you will never see coming. Earthworm Jim, published from Marvel, tie into I believe an animated show at the time.
It was an animated show based on a video game.
And then Back to the Future from Harvey Comics from 1992, based on the cartoon that was going on. These are books, $30 a piece, from 1991. So we're talking, 20, 30 years, like you said? So you just don't know. And when we get...
And it depends on the market, too. When Marvel was publishing Barbie, I've told this story before. We had Fabian Nicieza, who was a writer at Marvel, but he was still in the sales area. He was the second guy to come from sales to writing. Peter David was the first. And he was there at our Comic-Con, and he was, where do you work? Where do you work? And when he got to me, I said, I work at Schindler's. He said, oh, I've heard of Schindler's. You guys sell more copies of Barbie than all the other shops in the Midwest combined. And the reason for that was we put them with the girls' magazines. And, you probably had the first issue. If you ever had the first issue of Marvel's Barbie, you probably had it for guide price, which was, $5, $6.
Actually, we had them out for cover price.
The first issue, we routinely were able to sell that thing for $50. Because the Barbie collectors would come in. Oh,
yeah. Sadly, they did not hold up in value. They're fairly inexpensive to find on the eBays, which says they must have sold a lot of them.
Well, it also means that the Barbie collectors have got them and moved on.
Yeah.
But anytime somebody asks me what back issues to invest in, I always say Golden Age. Golden Age always goes up in value. Key Silver Age books always go up in value. And we're getting to the point where any of the superhero, especially the Marvel superhero Silver Age, they're going to go up in value. Bronze Age, we're now at key Bronze Age issues will always go up in value. And what is a key Bronze Age book is changing. Luke Cage has had a TV series, so his comic is now, I would say the first 30, 40 issues are going to be considered key books.
You talked about Guardians of the Galaxy. You got the, we already know the first Thanos from Iron Man's gone up. First Gamora, was it 181? Strange Tales?
Yep, Strange Tales 181.
Yep, that one's gone up. Groot is probably out of most people's price range, considering it was Golden Age, but first Rocket Raccoon?
No, it wasn't Golden Age, it was Atomic Age.
Ah. So,
it was 59, I think, 1959.
Yep. So those are the ones that can go up, and then occasionally, we were talking about Miss Marvel earlier. That one, That one went up in value. I sold 2 copies for $30 that I was sitting on because, again, nobody saw it coming. They did not know what or how it would go up. My favorite story is all the way back from when I first collecting comics at St. Paul Comics years ago, where John, the proprietor, was talking about, I just don't get it. You know, everybody was all excited about Spider-Woman being that, you know, tie-in from Spider-Man, has to be a number 1, and people got all excited about it, so we ordered tons of them. Nobody wants it. And then this thing called Howard the Duck came out, and it was going for silly money. And, you know, it's calmed down a little bit. Of course, it's been reprinted dozens of times in our favorite form, the omnibus. Spider-Woman's starting to go up a little bit. But, you know, that's a book from, early 80s?
Spider-Woman was 76.
Oh, you did the math. I told you not to do the math.
I like making you feel old by doing stuff like that.
Well,
I'm able to do it to my son now.
How about Mage number 1, since Mage is coming back?
Mage has always been a good investment. Those black and white Grendel issues by Matt Wagner. Great investment because Matt Wagner, well, he may not be a superstar. He has a hardcore group of fans, and that's his earliest work on a character that he did for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Although they're one of those that shot up really fast and then just kind of held their value. Mage number 1, because, you know, there were more of them around. They didn't go up a lot. But, you know, there's other stuff from that time. The first appearances of Gru are going to hold their value because it's Sergio Aragonés. But there's other stuff. You know, we don't even need to get into the black and white boom and bust. I still remember geriatric gangrene jiu-jitsu gerbils selling for $40 a pop. And there were ads in the Comic Buyer's Guide for books that hadn't even been published yet that were going for 10 and 12 times their cover price.
Yeah.
All because of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Which is a legitimate collector item if you can find it.
Well, there were only 3,000 of the first issue printed.
Yeah.
And it's because they couldn't afford to print anymore. They actually had orders for more. And they got really lucky. They sent out a press release, and it got picked up by the Associated Press.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 1.
Turtles on a half shell. No, it's Heroes on a half shell. You think I know that? My son was addicted to the goddamn cartoon.
All right, let me take a look.
Oh, when I worked at Schindler's, the Archie version outsold the regular version like 10 to 1.
Wow. Here's a 9.4 CGC for 11,000.
Jeez.
They might be high. I don't know. But again, I don't monitor to see who's got that might be the best one.
I sold mine in 86 for $150 and was happy.
Here's a 6.0 for 4,000, a 7.5 for 4,100. 9.6 signed and sketched by Eastman for 3,000.
I'm really starting to feel like Butch right now.
Oh, this is a second print.
I shouldn't have sold it. I'd still have it now.
Yep.
I had to pay for those car repairs, though.
So buy Rugrats. How do I know?
And the renumbering, the Spider-Man, when they renumbered Amazing Spider-Man number 1, that one shot up in value. I don't think any of the other Spider-Man number 1s did, but when they renumbered Spider-Man, that went up in value. What, the new 52 Batman number 1, that went insane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually had a signed copy I picked up from Midtown Comics in New York, which surprised me. I remember talking with Gruber about that because he had one. I just throw it on the eBay. Or he's going to throw it in his dollar bin. I said, no. Look on eBay and see what that sucker's going for. I'll wait. So, Oops.
How about the new Batman #1? It came out a year and a half ago.
Nope. I just sold #1 with Rebirth for like $20.
Okay.
So not as.
That's not bad.
No, not really, but just not. It doesn't have the heat it did. You know, and I bought a lot of the Rebirth for two reasons. One, thinking, hey, maybe it'll go up again. And also, I thought I would read them and then we could talk about them. And then I got to the point where, like, you know, I just don't care.
Yeah, did you ever read those Amazing Spider-Mans that you said you were going to read 314 episodes ago?
I don't know. Have you ever seen the Spider-Man movie you said you were going to see about 5-6 episodes ago?
I haven't had time.
Well, I threw mine in the dollar bin, so at least something will happen.
And, you know, by the time we get to Spider-Man, it'll be on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, maybe not. You had to have heard the news that Disney talked about that they're going to launch their own streaming service and probably take away a lot of their movies from Netflix, which, again, has people really speculating because now you're like, does that mean all Star Wars, Marvel, Muppets, Pixar, everything will be on Disney and nothing anywhere else?
And the Netflix series, where are they going to go?
Because a lot of those were made by Netflix, so they're, you know, it's a little, I would suspect what we'll see is Disney not jamming everything in, because first of all, the Disney catalog itself is huge. Yeah, the potential for them to make original movies and TV shows and shorts just out of Disney stuff. Not talking anything they acquired, but just what they have. I mean, my mind boggles. I would love to see, what was the name of that Patrick McGowan Scarecrow of brain lock. But it's a series that he was in. Hang on as I go to the Crayaton 3000.
Well, all these companies are doing that. Hulu was actually started by, I think it was Fox, ABC, and it might have been somebody else saying, well, we're going to have our own Netflix with our own TV shows.
And that's probably what Disney's doing, and Disney's got the clout and the catalog to do it.
Well, and CBS doing the CBS All Access, where they're going to have, they've already got one series, which is a Good Wife spinoff.
The Scarecrow of Romney Marsh.
Mitt Romney Marsh?
Yep, that was Patrick McGowan, one of the shows he did. And then, of course, I think, didn't Disney do Zorro? That had Patrick McGowan, or no, Ricardo Montalban was in that. And I can't think of the guy from Lost in Space.
Well, so the other thing you have to look at, on your cable, Disney has ABC, ESPN.
Which they've already announced they're going to do their own, what we call a streaming service for ESPN. So, again, but that's not part of the Disney thing.
Right.
Which gets you thinking, maybe, you know, Disney, they're going to do Disney, but maybe they don't want to take Marvel away from Netflix. Maybe they want to have their own Star Wars area, or maybe have their own Marvel channel, or, you know, so it's not necessary that they're going to take everything in-house, because as we've talked about before and in past, when IDW does a comic book of Disney, they get that licensing fee, so that's money coming in. Whereas if you produce it yourself, that means you got to cough up the money and make the program and hope you're going to make money. Obviously, in the case of Marvel movies, what did you say it costs? How much to make? And they made
they cost around between $170 and $200 million for a Marvel movie.
Yeah, and by the time you finish worldwide, they make us some money.
They usually make between $750 million and $1 billion.
And there's a demand for even some of the old Marvel, some of the old Disney stuff, because you look at those classic DVDs they put out, and they put them out for a limited amount of time, and then they cut it off, and the prices on those skyrocket. And Disney doesn't get a piece of the action, but you know somebody's got to be watching that, thinking, should we re-release it, or should maybe we stream it? So
Turner Classic Movies is paying Disney, and they have access to the old Disney stuff that you wouldn't think of. The Disney documentaries, the animal documentaries.
Oh, yeah, the lemming one, so, where they actually push the damn things off the cliff, and everybody thinks lemmings do that on their own.
And the older Disney cartoons that don't, that the Three Amigos are not going to be shown on the Disney Channel or Disney XD or anything like that. The classic stuff, that's being shown on Turner Classic Movies. I think they do 1 or 2 nights a month where it's Disney night, and they just show older Disney movies. Or they show, all the movies with, what was his name? Dean somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, The Absent-Minded Professor, and all the movies that Kurt Russell did for him.
Oh, yeah.
The $1 Million Duck and stuff like that.
Well, they're really good at...
they put all that on a streaming service. It'd be worth it, but more and more of these studios are doing that.
Well, and they're also very good at knowing, okay, we have it, Disney XD, but did the Disney XD people necessarily come to the streaming service? Probably not, being that the kids who are watching that are probably watching it because their parents buy it. So they don't want to gut what's already working for the sake of bringing it all in the house. They're usually not that myopic. Hence the point, they're not shutting down Marvel Comics. It makes too much effing money.
But all of these companies are positioning themselves for the fact that people are cutting the cord.
And more importantly, eventually we're going to get to a point where there are just too many streaming services, and you'll be paying twice as much that you did for streaming that you did originally for cable.
Well, it's going to depend. It's going to be a la carte. You don't want every channel. I'm not going to sign up for the Discovery Channel streaming service. I'm not going to sign up for the Fox News streaming service. I won't even sign up for the Fox Cable streaming service because, FXX is good and FX is good, but I don't care about their 42,000 sports channels. You're going to see more streaming services as more and more people leave cable, and it's going to become a la carte. Oh, I want Turner Classic Movies, I want WWE, I want Netflix, Hulu, Disney, and Paramount. Those are the ones I want.
And we'll be laughing at people. You still got an AOL account? The same way it would be like, you still got cable? Boy, I bet you those cable guys, how many years ago when they said, well, it's too expensive to offer it a la carte. You think that guy still got a job?
Well, that's why more and more and more, if you're with the cable company, they are really, really pushing the fact that, hey, we have on-demand, and it's easy. And, we've got the last 3 months' worth of episodes from all of your favorite networks. And
we also have
these networks,
300 shopping channels and 500 religious channels and 400 channels that even Roku doesn't want.
Actually, the religious channels are fading away. The shopping channels are fading away because
just like
that
there used
bandwidth.
To be comedy channels too. I mean, there used to be everything had a comedy channel.
Yeah, but more and more that landscape is getting crowded. The tennis channel just got bought by a company known as Sinclair. Sinclair is a very evil company, but they do one thing that I like. They own Ring of Honor Wrestling. But they are a very far right-wing company. They're the ones, Joe, you've heard of Citizens United, right? The Citizens United ruling from the Supreme Court?
Okay. I was trying to get it into context there.
Citizens United was a documentary made by Sinclair that ran on the Sinclair stations here in the Twin Cities at Channel 23. But they've been buying up little local channels, your independent channel, your Fox channel, your CW channel, all of those, and they want cable, but there's no room on the cable bandwidth. So they bought the tennis channel, and they're going to be moving the tennis channel to a sports network. But if you're looking on your digital channels, they're the ones who do Comet TV, they've got 2 or 3 others. It's all in getting that bandwidth, getting into people's homes.
Those religious channels are dying because, Mother Angelica passed away in 2016. If she was around, that would never happen.
I still remember when I first discovered her, because I had just got cable. And you're going to watch everything. It's a Catholic channel. And I turn it on for a minute, and here's this nun yelling at people calling on the phone. And after about 5 minutes, it's like, this is like Morton Downey Jr. with a nun. What else is on?
It was good. It was fun.
But I've noticed that the religious channels are going away, the shopping channels are going away, because these big corporations are saying, we want that bandwidth. Universal, Turner Classic Movies is the one that started it, in a way. Because what Ted Turner did, he bought up all the rights to all these old movies. And he said, hey, I've got all these movies I own. People aren't watching them on TBS, and they're not watching them on TNT. They want other stuff on those channels. But I own all these things free and clear. So he started Turner Classic Movies as a way to just, you know what, I have these, I'm just going to run them.
Which was interesting, because I remember reading about, there was a whole band of, movies based in the 20s, gangster movies almost, the classic gangster where they all met a violent end. And people had forgotten that this genre of movie even existed until Turner started playing them again.
Yeah. Now, when I was in college, I remember we watched the original Scarface. We watched Public Enemy. But Turner had the rights to the whole Warner Brother catalog before 1950, so they had all these great low-budget crime movies. Boom, put them out there. And there are more and more channels like that. VH1 Classic. VH1 Classic has, I think, 5 employees. They don't create any new programming. They're Viacom, so they've got the rights to everything that MTV did, VH1 did, and all these other channels. So what they do, every month, they've got all the stuff digitized now. Basically, VH1 Classic paid for the digitization of all these video. And they just program, all right, here's what we're gonna show. So there's, a couple people do that. When you buy ads on MTV or VH1, they go, oh, and by the way, if you pay a little extra, we'll run this ad this many times on VH1 Classic. Meanwhile, when you get your cable bill, oh, my cable bill's $100. VH1 Classic, let's say they get 10 cents a subscriber. Even if you don't ever watch it. So 10 cents from your cable bill goes to them. Boom. That pays for the bandwidth, all the content they already own. They already own that content. So 10 million people subscribe, that's $1 million a month, plus whatever ad money they get, and they don't have any employees. They don't have to generate any content. Universal had 2 channels, Clue and Chiller, which were literally, hey, this is stuff that doesn't play on our cable channels anymore, but we still own it. So Clue will be all the crime stuff, and Chiller will be all the horror stuff. And the other, what does this have to do with comics? It's these companies need to generate funds. And to do that, they're going to mine their old stuff.
Marvel Unlimited, we're looking at you.
DC. Oh, we sold all these things as archives, and the archives don't sell very well anymore. I know, let's repackage it again as omnibuses.
Or keep an eye if there's an anniversary coming up. We'll make a bunch of reprints, call them True Believers, Millennium Editions, whatever.
Well, you've got the Superman, they're up to the 5th Superman archive.
Hardcover, I'm waiting for the softcover. So they got the hardcover fans, and they got the cheap guys like me who are waiting for softcover.
But they already digitized that stuff. They scanned it, cleaned it up and everything when they made them into archives. All they have to do to reprint it now is pull the file, send it to China. That's why you keep getting, here's the first Batman story. Why? Because we've got the film. It doesn't take anything to print it. That was the big fight between Todd McFarlane when he bought Eclipse. There were the rights to all the characters, but it was the film. He had the actual film that they used to print the books. And people would come and say, hey, look, I've got the rights to Scout. I'd like to take it and reprint it. And he says, well, I have the rights to the film. You have the rights to the characters and the stories. I have the physical printing rights. And possession 9/10 of the law. That's why the whole Miracle Man thing was such a mess. And we still haven't gotten the new Miracle Man story.
Yeah, that was almost going to be an ass the Strode, because I was like, what the hell? Where are they?
I think the orders came in and they were so low, there was like, I don't think we're going to make money off that.
Yeah. Which brings us full circle.
You know who does make money, Joe?
But not this podcast.
These guys, our sponsors. That's right. Here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, we have ads, and our first sponsor is me. That's right. You're charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. I have my first book out with Dangerous Dan Moore. It's the first 100 strips of our online web strip, Worldwide News, the story of the lowest rated cable news network. And you can get yourself a copy with commentary, with all sorts of extras, with signatures and everything. Just email Dan over at lordshadowflame@gmail.com. Our top sponsor, who's been with us since day one, is DreamHost. DreamHost.com. You need yourself a website, and DreamHost.com is the #1 web host in the whole known universe. Just head over to DreamHost.com, put in the code KRAYZ, K-R-A-Y-Z, get $20 off your first year. How can you beat that? Our other sponsor is Graze, GRAZE.com. Healthy snacks for a healthy lifestyle. Just head over to Graze, put in the code CORYS3R5P. Your first and fifth box are free. You can get them weekly. You can get them bi-weekly. You can get them monthly. You just order a whole bunch of them. It's great stuff to keep you away from the vending machine at work. Now, if you would like to leave a comment for any of the podcasts that we do, we'd love those. Go ahead and email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, or you can call 952-856-0519. Operators are standing by. Okay, it's just a place that we'll record your calls, but we'll play them on the air. We'll answer your questions. We love getting feedback. Tell us what you think. Ask a question. Suggest a topic. Be a guest. Send us your stuff. SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. If you would like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose radio shows, you can. Just email us at SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. Subject advertising. Thanks. And after the sponsors, we like to plug our friends.
All right, let me load my gun here.
No. We like to talk about Dave and Stephanie Cofell, who are just, they're podcasting machines, Joe.
They are.
Episodes 23 and 24 came out today.
They're
scrabbling through the West.
They are trying to make you look like a slacker.
Well, they got a long way to go.
Yeah, that's true.
They got a long way to go.
And I heard they keep their own place clean because they're scared of visitors.
Well, as well they should be.
Scrabbling Across the West, a fortnightly retelling of Dave and Stephanie.
Fortnightly?
That means every 2 weeks.
I know what it means. What if we wanted to do it more or less often than every 2 weeks?
Well, that wouldn't be holding down the fort, would it?
Oh, you're funny. Okay, how about frequently?
All right, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Scrabbling Across the West, a frequent retelling of Dave and Stephanie Cofell's adventures in traveling, making music, and playing Scrabble across the Western Hemisphere. It's all about the people, the places, and the game. Scrabbling Across the West. Bye-bye.
Bye.
By the way, for all the keys you've handed out, not a single person has even dropped off a pie for me on my birthday, let alone done my dishes. So nobody loves me.
Well,
nobody loves me.
I'm going to have to bring it up, but people have been returning them, so I just I didn't want to bring that up, which is why I stopped offering free keys. If I'm not going to make money at it, I'm not going to be making them. If it's good enough for Marvel, it's good enough for me.
Well, if people want to be a part of this here podcast, they could do that, Joe. Because we got a special Kirby episode coming up on the 28th. That's just a couple weeks away. So here's some information on that.
Crazy Comics and Stories is doing a special episode for Jack Kirby's 100th birthday, and we'd like you to be a part of it. Please send a MP3 to solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. It can be about anything. It can be about your favorite Jack Kirby story, the thing you like best about his art. Heck, you could even do a song about how much you love Big Barda. Big Barda. Or, if you don't want to record an MP3, go ahead and give us a call at 952-856-0519. You can leave a message there. Just, the MP3 shouldn't be more than 5 minutes, and the message should be as long as Google Voice will let you record. Thanks again.
And after we do all the plugs, we then ask Joe the most important question of the week. Joe, do you have Prince Albert in a can?
Nope, but I do have these blue almonds. I think I'll chew on a few.
Well, you better catch him. He's running away. Wait, I think I got that joke wrong.
You did.
Joe, what's going on the eBays?
Oh. Well, we were talking about things that you just don't see go up in price.
Cracking hookers.
There's always a demand, especially with the Super Bowl coming to Minnesota next year. But that's not what we're talking about. Cory, you get all those freebies that come out, where they talk about, here's some books that are going up in value, or, here's like this one, Absolute Vertigo, or the DMZ convention exclusive, or maybe you might get Zenscope Entertainment product catalog. You might even get the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund quarterly magazine called Defender. Do you get any of those freebies? You pick them up? Do you see them?
They shove them in my box at DCB service, so I do get them.
What do you do with them?
I read them and file them away.
Where?
In comic boxes.
Good man. Because while 90% of them have zero value, there are some that go up in price and you won't even guess what they are. For example, I say as I carefully pull the ones I've gleaned. There was the one I mentioned, the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund Defender, Issue 8, Winter 2016. First appearance of Preacher. Very valuable. Most of the Defender ones don't have a real value. They go for a couple bucks, but then there's occasionally like number 7, which had the first appearance of the new Black Panther. Zenscope, the entertainment catalog, if you happen to have one of those. Those are running for like $16. Other than the gorgeous art inside and all the different things. Same thing I mentioned if you ever go to a convention. Like, I've got this 2008 convention exclusive DMZ. Cory, tell the good folks what DMZ is.
DMZ was a Vertigo book that was set in a very near future where where the U.S. was torn apart by a civil war, and the New York City was a demilitarized zone. And the story is about a reporter who goes into this demilitarized zone to tell stories about the people who live there. And like a lot of Brian Wood stuff, it's very political, almost prescient as it discussed how we think South versus North, but it was rural versus urban. And while the urban places had the people and all of these other things, the rural areas had the guns. And it goes into detail about that. It was a great series. I think it ran 70 issues at Vertigo.
And if you happen to pick up the number 1 convention exclusive, it's worth a cool $50. It was just a freebie that got given away. Heck, even Absolute Vertigo I talked about before. Winter 95 is going for about a $15 price. This is the one that had exclusive previews of Invisibles. Probably the first appearance of Invisibles. It had stuff of Preacher. It had The Eaters, Jonah Hex, Ghost Dancing. So when you get these things, read through them, check it out. It's a good way to figure out what's going on. But you don't want to just throw them away because you never know when or if they're going to go up. Most of them, like I said, won't, but the few that do, you'll be surprised when you're going through stuff. The other thing I'll mention, of course, all systems go as I wean towards Fall Comic-Con, which will be October 7th, 2017 at the Minnesota State Fair Education Building.
Because you need to get educated.
And if you go to their website, mcbacomiccons.com, there's nothing there yet, but I do know within the next couple of weeks they're going to have the guest list firmed up. And a little background story. One of the things they're waiting on is because there's some guys who might decide to go to the New York Comic-Con, which I guess is, if you listen to those guys, bigger than San Diego Comic-Con. Or they might come at FallCon and have a better time. We just don't know, and they don't know. I know people online are getting all antsy. Where's coming? Where are the guests? I said, well, you can only ask. They can't say yes. Dealer packets are going to be sent out fairly quick, so if you're looking like me to go to the show and blow out some stuff, well, I imagine Dangerous Dan Moore, when he's done dorking around in Disney World, will be there pushing your book and whatever goodies he's got with him. So be sure to write that down. October 7th, Minnesota State Fair Education Building, Fall Comic-Con, the one-day wonder. But before I do that, I'm going to be clearing out my eBay store, of course, Crazy Comics and stuff. And I make this offer. If you go right now, there's a number of things that are half price. I basically went and took some higher buck stuff and just half priced it. Some of it, like Marvel Previews number 24 magazine from 1980 that had Paradox in it. Bizarre Adventure number 30 from 81 had the same character. Strips, the rather risque strip from Chuck Austin. Some things are kind of odd, like I got a little Archie 30 from 1964. Don't ask me where. But I put on a lot of things at half price just to kind of move some of the stock. What I like to do is make this offer to our listeners as you're going through the store. And, of course, I'll be listing new stuff almost constantly. In September, I'm going to put everything half price. I mean, there's a few things that won't because, obviously, I'm not crazy. I'm not going to half price a Golden Age Captain Marvel no matter how much I want. But if you are listening to this here podcast, if you go onto my eBay store and you see something you're interested in, you'd like it at half price, even if I don't have it listed at half price, first of all, if it is listed and it's got a best offer, send me an offer and let me know you're a listener to this here podcast. I'm more inclined to accept it. And two, even if it's not, I don't have a buy it now thing, give me a line, say you're interested in it, and if I can't half price it, I'll do my best to make it a good deal for you, because we appreciate our listeners, and this is the way you guys get first crack at the good stuff before I open it up for everybody. I used to do that whenever I had my sales at Hot Comics. Not so much Crazy Comics because I really didn't do sales there, but I'd let my regular customers know I'm going to have a sale starting this Friday. If you come in Wednesday, Thursday, I'll let you have first crack at stuff. Oddly enough, a lot of the customers my regulars didn't take up on that offer because they were all happy getting their normal stuff, which always was kind of distressing because, you always get the bottom feeders coming in whenever you had a really good sale going on. It's like, well, yeah, I appreciate you guys, but the regulars are the one that keep us in business. Same thing with this here podcast. You listeners keep us going. And of course, if you do buy something at half price, I'll probably throw in something from them dollar bins I keep threatening people with. So check it out, KRAYZ on the eBays.
And after we get done with Joe talking about the eBay, it's my favorite part of the show, where we all sing about Zippy the Pinhead.
Zippy the Pinhead, the pinniest pin of...
No. It's when we talk about freaking and geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
Well...
I heard paper rustling. This is going to be long.
No, not really. I have to get my notes going because I actually, if I have a choice, I can make notes on the show or wear pants. You decide which one I've done. I mentioned earlier, we didn't really talk a lot about previews because we got sidebarred. But I got to say, I was not impressed at all looking through the previews Marvel catalog. It's just not exciting me. You know, oh, you're going back to numberings, but it's the same old story. I wonder if maybe they should have just phased it in slower. You know, I mean, for some reason, the Thor 700 caught my eye just because it's 700. And they've done it before, like, I think when Mark Waid had Fantastic Four, they had the numbering starting from 1 after Heroes Return. And then when they got to a certain point, it was Fantastic Four 500, and they went forward with legacy numbering. So I'm wondering if maybe they should have just eased this in and just kind of, when you got to a natural number, that somebody would go, ooh, here's a good point to put in a triple cost issue.
They need an event.
Yes. Maybe I would have provoked more excitement from me, but as it is now, I'm just kind of looking at it like, whatever. So other than the Thor one, I mean, let's see if I can find. Amazing Spider-Man I pick up. Invincible Iron Man caught my eye just because where's Tony Stark? I put down Mighty Thor. But really, the only other thing I'm really excited about is the Punisher, the Platoon miniseries that Garth Ennis is doing. So I'm looking forward to that. It tells me when it hangs up on me.
No, you went silent after you said, and Windows, and then, you know, you shouldn't say bad things.
Yeah, well,
about Windows.
Every time I say bad thing about Windows, and Skype, you're not far behind because...
Well, Skype is owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, well, that explains why it sucks. You know, of course, we use it to do this here podcast. No, it was just saying, you know, something about Windows 10, you know, my microphone, my nice $100 beautiful Yeti microphone that sounded so great, just stopped working. Why? Windows 10. And my iPod, same thing. All of a sudden, just stopped working. Windows 10. And then, of course, you go online, and other people are having this problem. And, of course, you get the guys, well, you know, if you download iTunes and update it and then turn off your machine and plug in your iPod and turn on the machine, it'll work. No, it doesn't. I've got this beautiful iPod that has 1,200 songs in it with room for 2,000 more that I can't add or subtract anything to. I can't even charge it on my computer anymore. Just, you know, that's going to be the end of society. Windows is going to do an update and we're going to crash. The entire fucking thing is going to crash. And I won't be able to watch Marvel's Unlimited. So that's what I'm freaking on. Corey, what are you freaking on?
I have a list.
He has a list, folks. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to eat some blue almond, lightly salted out of the can. And let's see what Corey's freaking on today.
It looks like the Dark Horse Creepy and Eerie archives have stopped. They haven't solicited a new one in about 6 months. When I even went to the fire-breathing Twitter machine and tweeted at Dark Horse, hey, are you still doing those? Silence. One of the local retailers said that he heard that they had discontinued the line. And it's depressing because they were only about, I would say, 3 or 4 books in each one from finishing. They were up into the creepies and eerie's that were published in the, 79 and 80. So they really only had to make it to 1983, I think, on both of them. Second thing is, as I'm looking through the previews, everybody's got lenticular covers. DC's got lenticular covers. Marvel's going to have lenticular covers. Indie books are going to have lenticular covers. Joe, I was looking through, there was one indie book that, if it's lucky, will sell 3,000 copies. It had 20 different covers.
I must have gone right past it.
It's with all the Jungle Babes books.
Oh.
And I'm just... 20 different covers. Damn thing probably won't even sell 2,000 copies.
So what you're saying is if you own a piece of the lenticular business, now's the time to buy some lenticular stock.
No, now's the time to get out. Because remember what happened last time? That Marvel and DC and everybody was doing all the special fancy covers.
Get out.
Not a lot of Tyvek comics came out after the first few. The gold embossed, lenticular... God, what was the thing they did for the Turok the Dinosaur Hunter that pissed everybody off?
Oh, that had the little shiny chrome cars. Supposed to be
No, it was
all
a chrome,
and it wasn't.
Chrome. It was a chrome covers. Yeah. I know that it helped sales, but you're pushing it, kids. You would think this would be a geeking, Joe. You would think this would be a geeking, but it's not. Fantagraphics is reprinting the classic, groundbreaking, and I would argue historically important underground comic, Women's Comics, WIMMINS Comics. It had early work from Trina Robbins, Sherry Flanagan, and other female underground artists. It's another one of these underground books I've been saying for years that we've got to get these undergrounds in collected editions. Fantagraphics is going to do it.
Oh, cool.
$100.
Not so cool.
It's like when they said, hey, we're going to reprint Zap. And we've got all the stuff from the 17th issue we never saw print. $300. It's not even an omnibus at this point. With a price point like that, it's only going to sell to, if they sell 200 of them, I'll be shocked. No, we got to reprint this stuff. Reprint it cheaper. R. Crumb's most famous work, Zap Comics. Good luck. $300. Women's Comics. Historically important. $100. It's almost cheaper to go find the old undergrounds at a head shop somewhere. And then the last thing I'm freaking on is actually something that probably most people don't think about. But, Joe, do you remember in the 90s when Marvel was putting out like a novel a month?
I wasn't thinking about that.
Do you remember that, though?
I do. I remember we've talked about them on various peer podcasts.
Marvel was putting out about a novel a month. They were using a lot of the same writers as the Star Wars, the Star Trek, and other series books. And they're between, I think it was like 95 and 98. You were getting one a month. And then in 99, they slowed down. Let's see, you had one in January, February, March, and then June, July, August, and then you had, a few in 2000, including the excellent Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Empire novel by Will Murray, which probably my favorite of the Marvel novels. But by 2002, 2003, it was over. And now they're putting out ones that Marvel themselves are actually publishing. But I would say the vast majority of them are out of print. You can't even get them digitally. Marvel needs to put them up on Marvel Unlimited. Make them available. Get them out there. You've already paid for them. They've already made their money. Get them out there. They're nice, cheap afternoon reads. They're like the old Star Trek books, where you could sit down and in about 2 hours read a good, well-written novel that goes through the 3-act structure. I've got most of them, but still I'd like to have them on my tablet, where it's just, I'd like to read that Spider-Man novel again, or the three-part X-Men story they did.
Or here's a weird idea. Put them in an omnibus.
There you go. But yeah, the X-Men and Spider-Man Times Arrow, which was actually plotted by Tom DeFalco and written by a couple people who did Star Trek novels. Get those sons of bitches out there. Joe, what are you geeking on?
I'm on vacation. Woohoo! So I don't have to wear pants.
You're just sitting around in your underwear watching the TV.
No, I'm kind of watching the computer, but I'm not allowed to watch TV.
In your underwear at all?
Oh, not since the incident. But I'm on vacation. Little bummed. I mean, we're having a cousin weekend. It was supposed to be coming up. As we're recording this podcast, it was supposed to be the following weekend. But what happened was it got postponed for whatever reason, pushed forward a week, which is fine. and then I took a whole week off work. And we're talking, this was like way back in October, because, last podcast, I complained about my scheduling, all that crap. A month or two after the schedule takes place, we do our vacation bid, which is really goofy because, you have to know your entire vacation for the year of 2018 then. And usually what I end up doing is take off for SpringCon. I take off Thanksgiving because I'm not high enough to get Christmas and or July 4th off. And then I'll take off usually 1 week in August, anticipating the Cousins reunion. It takes place up north of Ely. I'm looking forward to it because you sit back, you're out in what I call civilized wilderness, with deep, clear lake that's icy cold. Lots of fun. I decided not to, even though I'm not leaving till a week, actually probably till the next podcast, although in that one twist of timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, I'll be back by the time the next podcast drops. But, whatever. That's the magic of editing. Breaking that kayfabe since episode 1. And so I'm looking forward to that. My wife and I looking to get up to Duluth. Probably, I know there's a couple comic stores. If she's nice, maybe if I'm nice, she'll let me go see a few of them before we head into the interior where there are no comic shops. Reading-wise, as I make some room, I've actually read quite a bit because now that I have my schedule back on track, out of the vast accumulation of crap box, I found Batman Superman #1 annual. And this one basically done in one. It's Greg Pak, Jay Lee did the art. A few other people did the art as well. But essentially, somewhere along the line in the New 52, Batman and Robin defeated Mongol. Well, Mongol's son comes and decides, you know what, it's time to a little bit revenge, and I think I'll just destroy your planet. And they're like, wait a minute.
Hold on. You can't destroy the planet. It's where I keep all my stuff.
Well, what happens actually is more insidious. Is people on Warworld decide, you know what, we're tired of you and your dads blowing up planets. So they're fighting for the right to run Warworld. And from there, there's a Bat Clan, there's a Superman Clan, and they get involved. And it's a fun little story. It's tied into New 52, which I'm not that familiar with continuity, but it was still fun to read. Another one, and I bet you Cory even read this one, Batman, Catwoman, Follow the Money by our good buddy Howard Chaykin.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this one, I don't know how I don't
know if he's anybody's good buddy.
No, well, yeah, but we give him, chicken sandwiches, so but don't tell him where they're coming from.
By the way, he does not remember that at all.
Of course not.
At least that's what he claims.
Well, I do remember he was really nice to my daughter, because he was kind of wound up in one of his rants, and she came over with a Star Wars #6, and he kind of toned it down real fast and just engaged her in conversation, and I actually have it sitting behind me, that the one he autographed. So that's kind of one of those keeper ones, because even though it's not valuable per se, it invokes a really cool memory. So definitely check this one out. It was a lot of fun. Doesn't really tie into anything, but when Howard's got the act, it's just fun to read. His art's good. The story was engaging. And let's see, January 11? Was that pre-52 or post-52? 2011. I don't remember. I'll find it. Know. It's not a high-value book, but it is kind of fun. Reading some new stuff. I read the end of Dark Knight 3, The Master Race. You're waiting for the book, aren't you, Cory?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I bought the regular comic, and then I also bought the collected edition, the slipcase one. And I'm sure I'll blow that out as soon as the collected Dark Knight Omnibus comes out. That has all of them. I did read Dark Days, The Forge. I'm not thrilled with the idea of DC. Oh, we have a new line of Dark Universe characters that you will have fun with. I did not buy anything other than this one. but I was intrigued enough reading it that I probably will run to the source and pick up whatever I'm missing, because it's just Batman trying to solve a mystery, getting everybody all wound up, glimpses of things. I mean, it's written really well. I just enjoyed it. The art was fun. And who knows, maybe in a couple months we'll go back and look and say, hey, you know what? I enjoyed this Dark Days crap. Another issue I read, I guess I should have put this probably on the freaking. It was called Atlas from Fangraphic Books. I don't know if you saw this one, Corey. I think it's going to be a regular series, but I couldn't decide if this was a parody of a series or this guy being serious.
Is that new part of their new superhero line?
Yeah.
Yeah, I reviewed the first one, and I felt the same way. It's like, I can't tell if they're making fun of it or it's just a bad superhero book.
So I don't think I'm going to be joining anymore. The ads were probably the most interesting part of it. And then even then I had to wonder if the ads were for real comic shops or what they were for. A lot of websites involved there. So I read Youngblood #2. I know I've ordered through issue 6, and it is a series I am enjoying. I know enough about the old Youngblood where I'm catching the old references, but it's also enough where you can, if you've never read Youngblood, it's a good place to jump on and come on board with it. Good writing, good stories. One of the things I pick up tons of and I rarely talk about are all those dollar issues or the 99-cent issue things. So I read 5 of them, and I'll just give a quick mini review of them. I actually liked the 5 I read, which surprised me. First one was a 99-center from Dynamite, Ash versus Army of Darkness 0. And, if you like Army of Darkness, this is definitely worth picking up. And the gist of the 0, and let's see, this came out, well, I guess this year, so I don't know, it might be a spoiler, minor spoiler, but essentially, Smart Mart's a little tired of Ash. Even though the employees know that he was saving them, they're like, it's bad for business if you start blowing away customers, even if they are deadheads. So he gets fired, but he finds a job at a local high school because apparently people are jumping on desk and eating the teachers are acting strange. They're eating the frogs in the experiments. Students are doing the same. I mean, they're good kids, but they're attacking each other, saying the most awful things. And afterwards, none of them could remember what they'd done. So Ash decides to go back to high school. That was issue 0, and it was enough to make me think I'm going to have to either pick the series up or pick up the ensuing book, graphic novel that comes. Next one were all the dollar books that I found from Omni. First one was Courtney Crumrin by Ted Naif. Of course, I am terrible with names, so Niafeh. I believe they're all in previews right now, but this is actually kind of interesting because it's a young girl is moved into a weird house with her weird uncle and has a weird friend next door. And in the course of the $1 issue, which I believe is just number 1, I guess they call theirs Square One. So, but it was enough. I know there's been a couple different miniseries out with this, and there was enough here to keep me interested. Let me see. This was dated 2017, so they're saying the first. I don't know. I'm assuming these are all series that have been out for a while, and I think, if you bear with me here, I'm gonna take a look at the Ever-Lovin' previews. Oni, O-N-I. I believe they have the whole series offered again in their press thing. But either way, it was. I enjoyed it. It was interesting. Oh my Lord! There's 7 volumes already.
Yep, it's been going for about 15 years.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I'm going to definitely pick up some of these. In the fantasy realm, the Mighty Zorak, which is another. They had the $1 come out. And this one I was a little cool on because it's basically, how do you say it? Animals, human, anthropomorphic?
Yep, anthropomorphic.
My God, I got one right. And it's a fantasy thing. There's bad bunnies.
Oh, wait, it's not Zorak?
Nope.
I thought you said it was Zorak.
You wanted some gum. You don't even know. You don't even know what gum is.
I want more Space Ghost Coast to Coast. God damn it!
Well, that's a DC problem, isn't it? But the Mighty Zorak from Oni, it was interesting enough where I think if I can find the book, I will probably pick it up. Another one, Another Castle, is a fantasy. This one's probably aimed more towards kids. It's got a princess. She's not necessarily a princess who wants to be in distress, but she does have a heavy sensitivity, and she discovers that if she marries the villain who's been attacking and allegedly killed her mother, that it'll keep him from overwhelming the kingdom. Of course, her fiancé isn't necessarily too pleased with it, but he's not really that good of a warrior because, these are kids now we're talking. But there was enough in this $1 book that made me want to try to, again, find the miniseries. I don't know if we always talk, how we say, beg, borrow, steal.
It's buy, borrow, or ignore.
Ignore. Yeah, these are all ones I would definitely... Courtney Crumpman, I think I would buy. Mighty Zorak, I would borrow. Another Castle, I would definitely borrow. But if you got a little girl that likes to play princess, this is definitely one for her because it's not the classic princess we all like. The last one was called Space Battle Lunchtime. If you are a fan of those goofy cooking shows, well, what happens is this particular Earth woman is very good at making pastry, and she gets, well, for better word, kind of abducted to another show that's going to teach her, well, not teach her, but she gets to compete to be the greatest chef in the galaxy. And the $1 issue leads up to where she opens up the unique mystery ingredient to prepare the dish of their choosing and begin. And that's the end of issue 1. And this obviously has been out for a while. So if you got friends who like those cooking competitions or you like it yourself, this is definitely one to pick up. Good art, good stories. For me, these are all borrows with the exception of the first one. So I really, I've got a ton of these $1 books. I'm just going to be checking them out, and, we'll talk about them from time to time when I run across them. And I think I'm going to introduce a new segment to the show today.
Another new segment?
Well, everybody likes the Ask the Strode. Well, I'm going to put one in called Blame the Strode.
Oh, Lord.
Yep. After listening to you go on and raving about the Hicks Omnibus, I went to In Stock Trades, part of the discount comic book service empire, and ordered one for myself. And the best thing is, because it's in print and stock, I didn't elect to pay the extra $4 and have it FedEx to me, but it's coming. Media mail should get here next week. So I, too, will praise the mighty Hicks and his ever-present omnibus. And, of course, I get to blame the Strode. Cory, what are you geeking on?
First thing I am geeking on... I have finished my creepy and eerie archive collections.
Ooh.
That's how I knew that they were done. I ordered... What I've been doing is when I have a month that's a little lower than other months, and I'm working a lot at the group home, I'll throw 2 or 3 of them onto my regular order at DCB service.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and they said, oh, this eerie volume is out of stock. And
they're usually pretty good about that.
Well, they let me know it's out of stock. They don't have any more at Diamond. And I went, oh, crap. Better get them. So I, here's my want list. And they said, these 4 are out of print. Ran over to Amazon. Oh, good. They still have them at Amazon. And it's one of those where we only have 2 left. Better order it in a hurry. Damn right I'm ordering it in a hurry. So,
see, that's interesting about them, because I almost had a freaking, because you know how much I love Tales of the Bean World.
Yeah.
Larry Mauder's book. Well, the 4th book has been out for weeks, and I never got mine. And this thing dates from a pre-order way back in 2016. So I sent them a quick note saying, hey, it's been out. Could you, should I cancel it and reorder it? And they said, Oh, we'll get our shipment in the next couple of weeks. So I got to wait a week, but it's coming.
But, yep, I'll have them all. With my next box day, I'll get the last ones. But they're all purchased. Got the whole run. So now I've decided that the next one I'm going to do like that is Crime Does Not Pay. They did 10 volumes. I've got 4 of them. So when I work extra at the group home or my regular monthly order is a little light, I'll just throw 1 or 2 of those on there till those are full.
Cool.
Getting these hardcovers, baby.
It's because you got to even out. The omnibus on one side's making your home lean.
And Crime Does Not Pay. It's in public domain, and I guess the sales weren't great because they solicited number 11 and then canceled it, and we haven't heard hide nor hair of it since. So there'll probably only be the 10 volumes. But still, that was during the heyday of the book when it was selling really, really well. So I've read the first couple, I've read the last one, and the first couple are kind of crude. But from what I hear, by the time you get to the 3rd volume, it was pretty much what it was going to be. And a lot of the art in there is done by someone, Joe, you've heard of.
And who is that?
George Tuska.
Ooh.
So he started comics back in the late 40s.
George is a Tuska. Started in the 40s.
Let's see. You know how I said that I was binging the show Scrubs? It ran for 9 seasons, but I hear the 9th season is terrible. I finished the 8th season, and it had a series finale that was perfect. Just a perfect series finale. And one of the things that I've read up on is Scrubs did okay when it was on network, but in streaming, it is still one of the most popular streamed sitcoms. And I know for me, it was one of those where by the time it had been on for a couple of years and I noticed it, it's like, I'm watching enough TV. But I'm glad that I streamed it. It's a really funny show. Has nothing to do with comics. You know what does have to do with comics, Joe?
What's that?
The Warlock trade paperback that I picked up at Cedar Cliff Collectibles.
Ooh. I bought that when it first come out.
I have read these stories over and over and over and over. Now what is it? The Marvel Essential is going for like $70. And the Masterwork is going for that much. But I was able to get this trade paperback, which has all the stories that I want, at a decent price. It was like, what, $7? Really nice printing. And a lot of the stuff that, even in the Baxter reprints they did in 81 and 82, that was a little blurry. It's all cleared up. Really, really nice version of it. And again, Starlin's Warlock series was ahead of its time. It still reads like a new comic. Just bursting with ideas, and I can see why Marvel Cosmic has been stealing from it ever since. In the previews, one of the things that we didn't talk about that I'm excited about, there is a new Garth Ennis Punisher miniseries.
Yeah, I mentioned that one.
The Platoon.
That looks good.
And it's still set in Vietnam, which means that the Punisher's in his 60s. But they fixed that in the regular Marvel universe. Now I think he was in Iraq. But, yep, Garth Ennis is still writing it as if it's Vietnam. So the Punisher now is in his late 60s. And the last thing I am geeking on, it used to be that I would buy the Overpriced Street Guide. Over Street Price Guide every year.
Every year.
And then after a while, it's like, I don't really need to know what stuff's worth anymore. I don't care. And the thing that really kept me from buying it was the history articles. I'd gotten to the point where I knew more than was being put in the articles. It was like, these articles are pretty flimsy. There's not a lot of information in this. And again, they're not for me. They're not for somebody who's been reading comic book history for 30 years. But I picked up the current one, and it's a really nice package. It's easy to read. The ads aren't as overwhelming as they used to be, because it used to be, the first 100 pages is ads and the last 100 pages is ads. It's a little calmer than that. The articles are still iffy. And the Hall of Fame, while I like the people they put in the Hall of Fame, it'd be nice if they had a list of everybody who was in the Hall of Fame, rather than, here are the people we're putting in the Hall of Fame this year. If you want to know everybody who's in the Hall of Fame, go to our website.
Or maybe they could publish a separate book.
That could be, too. And looking through the prices, some of the stuff that I haven't looked up in a long time, wow, my Weird Fantasy number 12 is really worth a lot of money now.
That's weird.
I should get it slabbed.
If you never want to read it again.
Well, I've got the reprint, so.
And slab it. Slab away, baby.
And my creepy number 1 still isn't worth as much as it should be.
Nope, that's creepy.
That's a weird thing about creepy number 1. It's like the first issue. Oh, it's worth $100. You do know it came out around the same time as Fantastic Four number 1, right?
Yeah, nobody wants it.
But yep, the overpriced street guide got the Batman cover because I like it a Batman.
Sometimes I'll go to Hero Initiative and buy that cover because I think where's mine? It's around here somewhere as I dig through my stock because I think mine is from 45th edition from 2016. So I'm a couple issues behind.
But one of the things that I used to enjoy it for was I would flip through, and that's kind of how I learned comic history. It's, Marvel published this when they were called Atlas, and here are all these books, and Jack Kirby did this, and Jack Kirby and Joe Simon own their own company. And now I know most of that stuff, so it's not as fun to look at the stuff from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. But it's nice to get a new one, be a little more updated. I don't want to become one of those old fans who bellyaches about, these goddamn young kids making comic books. Back in my day, we had people like Gary Conway. Gary Conway was 19 when he started at Marvel. Shut up! It was different. Jim Shooter was 13 when he started working in comics. I said shut up! Mort Weisinger was old. He was born old. So was Julie Schwartz. You never see a picture of Julie Schwartz where he doesn't look like an old guy.
I get it. May the Schwartz be with you.
Stan Lee looked old when he didn't have his wig on.
And that mustache. Ugh.
The 70s porn stash.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
I like how Stan, would say, oh, no, I don't wear a toupee. Meanwhile, the pictures of him from the 50s, bald as a cue ball. I'm a horrible person.
True, but we like you anyways.
Well, believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books and streaming services and Disney for an hour and a half. And we even gave you some nostalgia at the very beginning of the show, didn't we, Joe?
We done did.
We gave the original opening.
Yep.
And now we'll give the same old closing, because the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
You like going out to eat, don't you?
Sometimes.
Did you hear about the new diner near Superman's secret hideout?
Oh, Lord.
It's called the Fortress of Solid Food. Hit my music.
Hit my barf bag.